And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the. Shit's my boss. Hold on. Hello? Yeah. Wait, what do you mean I'm fired? The company went bankrupt? What do you mean pack my shit? My shit's all in the office. We're in quarantine. I guess that's it for my day job. I guess I'll stick to my real passion, which means there's a Greycast heading your way. And welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And if you don't know exactly what that is, you may have heard some memes like Snake, 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 or the more recent one, Her, Colonel. I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick, and the clap from my ass cheeks keep alerting the guards. That, and if you didn't know where that's from, then that's from the Metal Gear Solid franchise. A little backstory into why I got into the series. I didn't know anything about Metal Gear Solid, but as a kid, my mom would take me and my brother to GameStop, and we could go pick out a game as long as it's not too expensive. We could get a full price game, but like they would give us trouble. They would say, "Well, no more games for like the rest of the month or whatever, or, like until your birthday." So we tried to like pretty much keep it on a budget. So I would go to GameStop and buy a pre-owned game, but then my mom's bougie side would show up and she'd be like, "Why don't you get it new?" I was like, "I'm trying to keep it low so I can get more games." So, but it worked, whatever. And I started off the series in kind of in the middle. Like I started with Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, which is a PSP game, and in terms of chronological order, like in the universe, that's the second game of the series. In terms of when it came out in the series, I think it was like the fourth or fifth game. But that's just a little backstory. That was back when I was in elementary school. I wasn't really playing shooting games back then. I was like playing Sonic the Hedgehog, Kingdom Hearts. No like heavy war games like this. So this was all new territory for me. But one thing I've always been into in gaming was the story. So if the story was like wild and really like kept my attention, then I was like, okay, I'm down for it. Like I like the twists and turns. So I think that's also one of the reasons that I really stuck with Kingdom Hearts. It's because the Kingdom Hearts podcast is coming, so I'll leave that alone. But when you listen to it, it's just gonna be like, oh, I get it. Then, oh no, I was wrong. I don't get it. Like what I thought, totally wrong. But Metal Gear Solid in a whole is it's basically it's a war game really, but not normal war. It's you're following. I wouldn't say one character. It's a number of characters, but they're all connected. And I was always into it because the story was just so rich and everything. So I'm gonna go over the entire Metal Gear Solid story. So it starts off with Metal Gear Solid 3. So we have the character that we use is called Naked Snake, and he got that code name because he would always go into missions with no weapons, no nothing, just like his regular CIA outfit or whatever. So they called it Naked. So he was sent to Russia to pick up a Soviet scientist who was defecting to the United States. He was creating this nuclear tank. So the mission's going good until the person who trained Naked Snake, we're just gonna call him Snake for now. Well, for the future, it's gonna get confusing later. But the person who trained Snake, her code name is the Boss. So she comes along while the mission was going great, and betrays Snake and says that she's defecting to the USSR, the Soviet Union, and going and to show good faith, she has two Davy Crockett's, which were like miniature nuclear missiles that she's gonna. And the scientist who was defecting, she took them both and she's going back to Russia to defect. While the boss and the new benefactor, who is Colonel Volgin, who she's defecting to, he uses one of the Davy Crockett's to make his escape and to steal the nuclear tank, which is called the Shagohod, escape with the boss and the scientist who's defecting. So when that nuke went off, because Snake was then escaping back to the United States, Russia caught the aircraft that was carrying Snake and assumed that the United States was responsible for the nuclear attack that happened in Russia, which was about to cause a nuclear war between United States and Russia. So during all that is going on, so there's a secret meeting between then President Lyndon B. Johnson and the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. So they made a deal to prove that the United States was innocent in all this, and so nuclear war didn't happen. So the Soviet Premier says, okay, you have 1 week to stop Volgin, because Volgin is trying to uproot the Soviet government. So he said you have 1 week to stop Volgin, destroy the Shagohod, and kill the boss. And the United States is like, all right, bet. So they send Snake back to Soviet Russia to, take care of the mission, destroy the Shagohod, save the scientists, kill the boss. During that whole thing that's going on, he meets with someone who's codenamed Adam, who's an NSA agent who defected to the Soviet Union. Then he also met another NSA agent who defected with Adam to the Soviet Union, but it was a ploy to get into Volgin's ranks and infiltrate the whole shabazz. So Snake finally finds Volgin, finds the Shagohod, but then he's captured, and then he's tortured. So before he finishes torturing Snake, he goes and kills the scientist. Then as he's torturing Snake, he cuts his eye, so now he has an eye patch for the rest of the series. So while Snake is captured by Volgin, Volgin starts, evil villain monologue. So he goes off and talk about this group called the Philosophers, which is made up the most powerful men in the United States, the Soviet Union, and China. It was a secret organization which is akin to the Illuminati. And he says that they were controlling the world and everything, basically. But at the end of World War II, everyone was just pissed off with each other. So they began to infight. And then the group just, disintegrated. They were just done. But they still had a $100 billion fund that they had, got together and everything. And somehow, they didn't really explain it, Volgin had inherited the money. And the reason the United States really sent Snake in to kill Volgin is to try and get that $100 billion. Snake escapes, he fights Volgin. Volgin, who's killed by a bolt of lightning during battle, was the most wild thing ever. Then after he defeats Volgin, he destroys the Shagohod, which is an AI tank who suddenly just wants to kill Snake. So we had to fight that. It was fun. But to complete the mission, he has to kill the boss, which this whole time Snake felt betrayed. It was like a whole emotional thing when he was just like, how could you betray the United States and everything? So we fight, and then eventually Snake wins. So as the boss is dying, he hands Snake a microfilm, which shows the location of the $100 billion is called the Philosopher's Legacy. So she has the microfilm that shows where it is and gave it to Snake, and then ordered that Snake kills her. So Snake does just that. It was the fight wasn't that action packed or anything, but it was a whole emotional thing. So he meets up with one of the people who was pretending to defect to Volgin's side. So I said one was Adam and the other one was a woman named Eva. So Snake escapes with Eva, and then, they spend a night, and, they did whatever, and then Snake fell asleep. So while Snake was asleep, then she took the microfilm with the philosopher's legacy and left a tape behind. And on the tape, she explains that, oh, she's betraying, she feels bad about betraying Snake, but she said to tell the truth that the boss did not really defect to the Soviet Union. She was just under orders from the United States to pretend to defect so she can get the philosopher's legacy. And then that's when we realize that during the whole defection, Volgin did launch that nuclear missile, which no one expected. Like, the nukes were only supposed to be a show of good faith. Like, hey, I'm on your side. Here are these nukes. But then he used it, and Russia was really pissed off about it. So they're like, yo, like, you gotta go because they're pissed off with us. And if we kill you, then we're going to be good. So she had to die for her country. So she never really defected. And I thought that was like just such a wild story. Like, I know, like there are a whole bunch of war stories out there and everything, but as a kid, like, it really stuck with me. Like, this is this is some A1 story. And not even just talk about the gameplay. The gameplay was just amazing because it was like anything, like if you got shot in the leg, then you had to go into like this special menu and apply bandages and disinfectant. And if you were sick, you had to do certain stuff. You had to catch your own food. You had to put traps down and everything. They had a wide range of guns. It was just a really good gameplay, and I really recommend it to anyone. After the mission was done, then the Naked Snake was awarded the title of Big Boss. So he's now like the top soldier in the world. But since he learned the truth about his boss, like, he's just sick of it. So he's just like, he's done with the United States, and he's gonna start his own mercenary corps. The next game in the story is Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, which was a PSP game, so it wasn't anything too big. It wasn't really a console game, but it was like a little story of, as he left the United States wasn't too happy with that shit. They were like, yo, this gang shit, like, you leave, like, that's it. Like, you come in with blood, you leave blood. So the United States sent out his old team, because Snake was part of Fox Unit. So when he left, they sent the Fox Unit after him. And that whole game is him fighting off that Fox Unit. And it's a bunch of people with like special abilities or whatever. So it was all these games, like, even though they might be small or something, like, each one has an important part to the overall story. So after Portable Ops, and he finally beats all the people who were chasing him. So he's just like, okay, so I'm ready to start my own military faction. So his new military group is called Militaire Sans Front. And his first new job with this new military is he's sent to Costa Rica, and he was hired by this professor at a University of Peace, really cheesy name, and his student Paz, which also means peace in Spanish. They were hired to investigate an army that's working in secret in Costa Rica. Snake eventually refuses and then says that, that professor is KGB. But when Paz plays a recording from the boss, then he's just like, okay, I'm going to take this job. So apparently he still got, like, teacher issues. Now here's where the game gets wild. So in Costa Rica now they're building another nuclear type tank, but this is 1974, and they're developing an AI in the tank. And the tank thinks and talks like the boss. And the person who built that was the lover of the boss, but that lover of the boss, her name was Dr. Strangelove. And she's pissed off with Snake for killing the boss. So, and everything that goes on, they find out that the series gets into a lot of, like, gray areas about war and, like, what people would do in the midst of war. So the whole point of Peace Walker is that they're like, well, humans are weak. They won't be able to launch nukes at each other, which is weird because you've seen our history. Won't bring that up. But they says that you can't rely on humans to retaliate in the event of nuclear exchange, because they say that no one wants to fire a nuke because that's going to kill lots of civilians and everything. So, but they built an AI machine that's going to do it for you. So you don't have to worry about pushing the trigger. Then all of a sudden, as Snake is about to finally destroy the Peace Walker, that's the name of the tank, the AI tank, the whole place is filled with Soviet Union soldiers, and out comes that same professor from the University of Peace. He comes out and he's like, "Oh well, I'm taking Peace Walker for the Soviet Union, so we're gonna have this tank." So now it's just another double cross. So just when that professor was about to go take the Peace Walker, then Snake's mercenary group, the Militaire Sans Fronts, comes in and it's all fighting. So with all the thing going on between the Soviet Union soldiers and the MSF, Militaire Sans Front, Snake sneaks in, destroys the Peace Walker, tries to destroy the Peace Walker, but then the Peace Walker sends something to NORAD, which it's the system that we use when we know that there's a missile coming. So he sends out a signal that says, "Hey, there's a missile being launched," but it's not true. So they're just trying to do that so the United States would launch nukes to Costa Rica. Snake tries to tell NORAD "Hey, there's no missiles being launched. Don't fire any nukes back," and then NORAD doesn't believe it. So he starts talking to the AI of the boss, which kind of has memories of Snake. They didn't really explain directly how that happened. But after talking to the Peace Walker, which had the AI of his old mentor, then the machine was like, "Okay, so I gotta stop this." So it walks into the ocean and it kills out the signal. So all the blimps that were showing up on NORAD's radar for missiles being launched disappear. So the nuclear strike is stopped. And that's the end of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. And it gets into a little post-game because after the whole events, we captured that Professor of Peace of the University of Peace. And because the way the game works is it works on you start off at your base and you can select missions. So they keep saying "Oh, this guy kept escaping." So we'd have to keep going back to old areas that we've been, and he'll just be hiding in random places under boxes or behind a can or in a barrel. So we just keep finding him over and over again until the last time we find him, it leads to his death. And in his dying breath, we realize that he wasn't even the mastermind of all this. His student that was with him, Paz, the little girl with the name Peace, was the real person who was behind all this, who created another nuclear tank. This game loves its fucking nuclear tanks. Who created another nuclear tank and said, "Hey, join us or we're going to fire a nuke at America and say it was your fault." And Snake was like, "Fuck that noise," and stopped her. And then she landed in the middle of the ocean and we just assumed she was dead. And then we move on to Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So the game starts off with Snake trying to find Paz because she knows a lot of the secrets of MSF and they want, obviously to capture her because they never find a body, so they're pretty thorough. They're like, "You didn't find a body, then they're still alive." So they got word that she was found alive, but she was captured by an opposing military group called XOF. So this group now tortured Paz and got all the information for the base and the defenses and everything. So while Snake and his mercenary group was going to get Paz, that opposing group, XOF, went and attacked the main base for MSF. So they were completely wiped out. The boss was also... the boss didn't get wiped out, but he went into a coma from all the explosions and the head trauma and everything. So the game now starts 9 years after... because he went into a 9-year coma. So we wake up in a hospital, and there's someone trying to kill Snake, who right now he adopts the name. He went from originally being Naked Snake to then having the codename Big Boss, and now he's going by the codename Venom Snake. So he's in the hospital. He just woke up, and the hospital is under attack. So that opposing military group, XOF, is now going after Snake and trying to kill him after they found out that he is alive. So he escapes the hospital, and he's now on a path for revenge to take down the XOF group. So the XOF group was filled with people that he used to know, but the people that he used to know got it was a mutiny. So now they have a subsection called Cipher. So he's trying to take down Cipher. So this game was one of my favorites because it was an open world stealth game. It still had all the guns and everything. It had a lot more guns. That you're trying to build back your army and everything. And the story for this is Cipher is trying to build world peace, but thinks that America is the reason why there's no world peace, which debatable. So they made a parasite that kills anybody who speaks English. Really weird. I don't know. Like this is 1984, and we went from AI 10 years ago, 1974, to now parasite. That's just like you speak English, like that's it, you're done. Wild story, but it's really all intriguing. And if the parasite wasn't enough, we have another tank capable of launching nuclear weapons called Cilantropus. Mind you, they haven't used this name yet, but all these tanks that launch nukes that are in like almost every game, they're called Metal Gears. But that's a name that they pick up in the future. That's why I haven't used that term yet. But just so you know. So we fight it, we win, and then after all is said and done, one of Venom Snake's closest advisors says, okay, hey, good job and everything, but there's something you need to know. So he gives Venom Snake a tape, and then the tape has the big boss on it, and it's like, hey, you're not really big boss. You're just someone who used plastic surgery and did a lot of psychotherapy to make you believe that you are big boss. And the only reason we did that is so I can work covert and take down Cypher from the inside. So, just another last minute blow your mind. And this was the last game of the series because the creator of this game, Hideo Kojima, the whole game was published by Konami. So they had some kind of beef back in 2015. This game won Game of the Year, but he wasn't even allowed to attend because Konami didn't want him. So they had their own little beef. So this is the last game in the series, and that's when he started working on Death Stranding, which I didn't play. I'm a big fan of Hideo Kojima, but Death Stranding looks so bad. Like, I haven't seen any person that's just like, this game is a lot of fun. I bet the story is like ridiculous because he's good at that stuff. But they said this is basically just a, hey, bring this from point A to point B and try not to lose it. Like, I really don't want to play a game about delivery, man. So I had to skip that, unfortunately. But I would hope sometime in the future Metal Gear Solid does get revived. But I don't have my hopes high because this did come out in 2014, and I don't know what beef he has with Konami. Because Konami still has the rights to Metal Gear Solid, but the fans are like really in an uproar that Kojima's gone. They don't like the direction that Metal Gear Solid is going. So I think Konami just left it alone and was just like, we're going to keep printing Yu-Gi-Oh cards. There's a lot more to the story. Like, there's more games that came before that, like, there are more games that came before that tell the story of what happened afterwards. But since right now my recording shows 24 minutes, and if I know after recording it'll be like 20 minutes, so I don't want this to be too long. So sometime in the future, I'm going to continue the next arc of the story, which is going to involve his kids. It's also a wild story from like beginning to end, so I don't know when I'm going to release that, but stay tuned for that. If you want a stealth game that has a great story, a whole bunch of colorful characters, cast of characters, I think you'd really enjoy this game. Like, from beginning to end, it also has boss battles in a way. Like, when you're fighting humans, like, they're all people with powers, like psychic powers. They can teleport. They can control the dead. Like, yeah, I said it's a war game, but it's like the most out of this world war game. Like, it's definitely science fiction. So I think, give it a shot. I think you'd really enjoy it. I don't want to let this drag on any longer, so I'm going to sign out. Be safe out there, guys, and just wash your goddamn hands, man. Damn. And we are out. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe.